Start missile.
Hello, folks. How are you? Hope things are going well, and life, the universe, and everything is greeting you pretty well on this Saturday, wherever you are. Had a pretty good day today. Been to the Brecky Creek Hotel. Had one of the best steaks you are ever going to have anywhere in this country, and I would highly recommend you go along and grab yourself a steak at the Brecky Creek. And if you if you don't like Forex, do yourself a favour and be very surprised. Go and have a Forex off the wooden barrel. It's the only pub in Queensland where you'll be able to get Forex off the wood. And I've got to say, it's not a bad drop off the wood. Wouldn't do much else with it anywhere else, but not a bad drop off the wood. Anyway, hope your Saturday's gone pretty well, and thanks for joining us on this Saturday night. The last few Saturday nights, we've had the opportunity to sit down and try and learn a little bit more about what's going on with the quantum financial system, what's going on with blockchain, what is digital currency, and learning all sorts of new words, or at least three-letter ones, XRP, XLM, and a whole heap of other things. We've tried to learn a bit about wallets, and, we're fighting our way through. We do have a lot of questions, as always, but we've got the best people in the world to give us the answers. Good evening to Jane, once again, from the Quantum Stellar Initiative. Thank you for coming again on a Saturday night and putting yourself out for us, Jane. And I'll bring the man of the moment up, too. I got to say, Jim, thank you for getting out of bed at this time of the morning. It is such a huge effort. And considering you're just off holidays, you've just done a little bip of ice fishing, which is something very few Australians will ever have done because we don't get ice lakes anywhere down here. So you're looking a little bit rested and refreshed, even though you've only been out of bed half an hour.
Well, thank you for that. Yes.
Thanks for taking the time, mate. It's a big effort to be out of bed this time of the morning, and I thank you very much. And as always, we got our man from the background of the Voice of Freedom, our webmaster, if you like, and guru of all things that go beep in the night. Vince, how are you, mate? You feeling all right?
Yeah, good. Improving, going well. Thank you.
Yeah, great. So, Jane, Jim, couple of big releases through QSI during the week. You've put out a video which I haven't had the opportunity to see yet, but I am really looking forward to sinking my teeth into. The videos are sort of titled variously the quantum system explained, QSI has been attacked, NWOs, we're talking about central bank digital coins and all sorts of other things. And you guys have put out a video that really lays it all out. Do you want to start there tonight? I don't know which one of you would like to kick it off, but it seems like this video goes a long way to explaining any of the inaccuracies and misinformation that may have been put around regarding digital coin. Is that the right way to explain it?
Yeah, there's been several come out this week. There's been the Age of Prosperity, which Nick Ragone did with Emily. It is only on the Rumble channel, and that is on the White Spirit Boy Trust, where all the gold has come from. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, jump on the QSI Rumble channel, which is QSI 347, and check it out because it's really worth checking that one out. And it will also explain the Rothschild role and the 300, the shadow government. There's lots of information there. There's documents to go with that video that are on all QSI channels that Nick shared as part of that presentation. So that was Monday, I believe. It's been a pretty full week. And then Wednesday was the panel call, the weekly panel call, which Jim's on, and he can explain that one. And then Nick and Emily were on another call yesterday, which has come out and been released today, which also explains CBDCs a lot better. And I've got something else that I'll read after Jim says he's a bit on the weekly panel call. Yeah,
sure.
So every Wednesday, QSI has a weekly panel call, and it's there's Charlie Ward, Emily, myself, Jason Q, Jeremy, Yaska, and then Nick Ragone. And every week we talk about different topics. This week we talked about the art of war, with the war we're in right now. You know, it's a silent war. It's all the things that are going on, how they push the coronavirus and the reset, and what this is all about. How they were going to take us, you know, try and take over the world. That the New World Order, the Black Hats, were going to, what their plan was, and what the Q plan was with our military behind the scenes. So I encourage everyone to go over there and watch those videos. We have a great panel of guests on there that give a lot of information. And then touching on what Jane just said, you know, Nick Ragone and Emily did a fantastic call on Sunday, which really illustrates everything. And we have all the paperwork to back up everything. And then yesterday, I was talking with Nick last night before I went to bed, and Emily put together one of the best, I think it's the best video that explains the QFS. I mean, it's right there. There's no denial of it. And I highly encourage everyone to watch that video also.
Great. Okay. And they're all available on the QSI website or through the Rumble channel.
Yeah,
Sure.
through the Rumble channel.
And we can email them to you too, Carl, so you can put them up on your
Please.
site.
Yeah,
too.
absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, if you want to throw them in, I'll make sure that they go up in the description and I'll put it in the video. So, yep, no problems at all. There's been a lot of talk this week about just in my little sphere, and trust me, it's a very little sphere, but so many people have started talking about XRP this week in various different ways. People are asking about it. Have you heard about this XRP? In fact, some people that we were sitting with today who came and met us while we were having lunch today sort of hedged around the idea of bringing up the subject. They were obviously involved in all of this. They weren't sure who else at the table was, and it was almost like they were embarrassed. It was are you in this, the crypto thing kind of thing, and they weren't embarrassed. That's the wrong way of describing it. But once this was out in the open, we started all talking about it at the table. It came up that it was not something that you bring up in open conversation. This has to be something, isn't it, that we bring up in open conversation with people. It's not about having a fight, but we shouldn't be talking about this in hushed tones. Or, have you bought any XRP or, XLM, or what wallet do you have? Or we should be educating each other, having these conversations, shouldn't we? Or have I got this really wrong?
No, you don't have it wrong.
No,
I mean, go ahead, Jane. No, go ahead.
Yeah, definitely right, Carl. A lot of people are hesitant to talk about it because a lot of us over the last 2 years, if you've been in it 2-3 years, people would shut you down. They would not listen to you. They'd just tell you you're a conspiracy theorist, you're a tinfoil hat person, and they would not listen to you. They were not receptive to listen. So that's why you may find that people will be hesitant to open up and speak. They might say something to test the waters to see what reception they get.
That's exactly what happened today. Yeah, that's exactly.
And that's what we're sort of finding now, is that people are just saying little things to test the waters, to see how receptive people are to what's being said. And then if people are receptive, then I know even QSI members in the global chat, then they will go and share further information. Because if people are not receptive to the message, then it's a real struggle to try and share the message. Yeah.
That's the thing. You've got to, I guess it is opening the door slightly to see whether or not there is any interest. For whatever reason, I don't know what happened in the history of all of this, like going back years, but it's almost like some Australians got bitten in the Bitcoin game or something in the crypto game early on, and now they view it all, rather skeptically or have embraced it. There doesn't seem to be a middle ground. It either seems to be you're wholeheartedly involved, or you're at least investing a little bit every so often into it. You've got your toe in the water all the way to being fully invested in it, or you are just not touching it at all. And
well, and that's a good point, Carl. But we got to also understand, this is all new. This is all new, and we've all been, living in a different fiat system. And even when, Bitcoin came into the picture, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I was, pushed pretty hard to get Bitcoin, and I didn't know enough about it back then, so I kind of stayed away from it. And the same thing comes true what we're talking about here. The new quantum financial system is for us. I mean, it's really for us. And if I could best describe it, it gives you freedom, because we're not going to have to deal with the banks anymore.
yeah,
We're going to be able to do banking all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and every day of the week. We're not going to have to wait to go to the bank to get cash. We're not going to be able to you're going to be able to bank the whole entire time on your own. And you're going to be able to do commerce between the merchant and yourself as a customer. I mean, like we talked about before, if you were driving down the road and it's 10:30 at night and you've seen a motorcycle or a car or a boat that's for sale, you could pull over and say, God, I want to buy that boat. And you could knock on the door at 10:30 at night, and that person, you could do the transaction right there. You don't have to worry about a check or go to the bank or anything. You can just do it right there. And then you could create your own smart contract. There's so many advantages to this that it's totally, and it's for our benefit.
but you can also, if you choose, go to what today we refer to as a bank, and what in the future we will refer to as a coffee shop, where you can exchange your gold or silver for a bit of whatever the new currency is, if it's rainbow currency or whatever it turns out to be. And if you choose to live a cash lifestyle, you can do that as well. Same deal. You could turn up, drive past the same boat at the same time at night and say, well, here's my 10 grand cash for your boat. You're negotiating the same deal. It's how you choose to do it, I guess. Do you want to be traveling around with a large amount of cash in your pocket, or do you want to be able to do it easily and quick from what I assume will be our mobile phone, our quantum phone? Is that how this is going to work? Will the quantum phone be our lifeline to the Internet of Things and all of this?
That's my understanding, yes, that our Q phones will be how we operate our accounts, because we will become our own bank.
Yeah.
There'll also be a quantum debit card also that'll go with that.
Yeah. Jim, I think in one of our earlier shows, you mentioned the universal basic income. And a lot of people have had an idea of Nasara Jasara. We've all heard of this great amount of abundance rather than a windfall or money. People are calling it abundance that will be coming to us. Now, I thought, put forward a very reasonable and logical argument. If there is to be a return of massive amounts of funds taken from every individual, we can't all become multimillionaires overnight. And I think from memory, what you said is a universal basic income can be agreed upon, and you will be able to draw that from these funds going forward. You're not likely to be given, $100 million or $10 million or $5 million, whatever it is they've deemed you're worth, and your share of the taxes and the profits and everything else that they've taken from us. You're not going to get that all in one hit. People are now asking me a lot of questions about, who's going to set the universal basic income? I want to set how much I get to live on if that's the way it's going to be. Are you finding it's a very me response when you start talking about the universal basic income? It hasn't been a big topic of conversation here in Australia, I'll admit. But now that you've raised it, it has turned up in my inbox quite a lot. And it's like, well, who's going to tell us how much we can get out of this money if we're not going to get it all? And yada, yada, yada. Do you have a take on what's going to happen with that?
Yeah, I've got my personal take on it. I don't have the actual take on it. I believe that the universal basic income is going to be based on your age and how much you paid into the system, how much they took from you. And I want everyone to understand this. Nick put out a PDF of all the major cities, and I know this because I've done it in my area. So not only did they take money from you regarding your birth certificate and your marriage license and your driver's license and your business license and your social security, all this other stuff, every one of our towns, every one of our cities, every one of our counties, every one of our states were corporations, and they were traded on Wall Street. So folks, you got to understand, the cabal has made money off of us, like running us as cattle through a stockyard and bidding on us. They made tons of money on us. So this UBI that's coming back to us is all the money that they were taking from us. Okay. So they were using us as slaves. So getting back to the UBI and how that's going to come back to us, I have an idea, but I don't have the facts. But I think it's going to go by your age and how much you paid into it. So it's going to be a significant amount per month. And that's just one of the things that's going to be, coming back to you. What folks really need to understand too is that we're going to be going to 1955 pricing too. So we're not going to have inflation. We're going to have free energy. I mean, the internet, your utilities, your water bills, all that stuff that's God gave us, that stuff is all going away. So our cost of living is going to be significantly different than what we're living right now. Yeah. So when we talk about abundance of wealth, it's not just the monetary system, it's everything that's coming back to us.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that comes time, the ability to rebuild family, to rebuild friendships, to rebuild communities, particularly. Is the focus in your part of the world, and I'm sorry, we're sort of off topic a little bit, but you're the only American I've spoken to in a long time, so I'm going to ask you a few questions. Is that community feeling? We're building something here in Australia called My Place in our communities. Is there anything like that happening in America? Are communities coming together, of like-minded people who see the injustices and the corruption that's going on? They're uniting, not in a, let's go and get our guns and go shooting kind of way, but in a community. Let's bring together markets, food, feeding people, helping people who need it, when they need it, and being there for people. Is that happening in America on a grassroots level?
It's at the very beginning stages. It's just starting to be talked about. And I know Becky over at True Seekers, I'm going to be getting on that call here tomorrow. I think it's a fantastic idea. I'm fully supporting that. If you really think about this, you guys, how they structured everything, they have us going to a brick and mortar building for all our necessities, when people in our own community, we can work with each other to live. I mean, you look at our grocery stores. Why do we have to rely on the corporations to feed us? Why can't we feed ourselves? We got local farmers that are in our communities that we can do ourselves. And how many people that know how to build, whether it's buildings or whatever, they've created such a corporate structure that we've relied on when we could be just relying on our local community to live.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, they've designed it that way so that they make the money out of everything from the ground up, and it gets taken straight out of the community and only put back into it by those caring, wonderful businessmen, usually Freemasons, who are doing it for ulterior motives anyway. So, full on. All right, look, I'll get back a little bit more on topic. I know Vince has got a couple of questions that he had lined up for tonight. There is a court case going on in America at the moment, Vince, and it's a very significant one. We were talking about it earlier, the SEC versus Ripple. I suppose, Jim, you'd be across this as well. I've really only found out about it in the last week or so. This case has been going on for over 12 months. Can anyone explain what it's all about for us and what significance there is to the outcome of it?
Well, I'll give you my take on it. Then I'll let Jane participate in her comment too. But as far as I'm concerned, it's already done. It's all theater. It's already been done. It's already been resolved. It's just, and right now we're going through the stages of bringing this to the public, bringing it to the world. So I think it's just smoke and mirrors right now. I think it's all done.
Yeah. Okay.
You'd be correct on that. Emily has the evidence to say that Ripple has already won that. And it was settled in October 2021, I believe.
So what is the battle then? For those folks who are only hearing about this for the first time, what was the battle? The SEC is what?
We're trying to say that XRP was a security, not a liquidity coin or token, and it is a liquidity token. It's not a security.
Right. So
and just so you know, Carl, the SEC is no different than the FDA, the CIA, the FBI. They're all corrupt bastards.
Yeah. I figure anything that's using 3 letters in their name in a government agency is best avoided. In our case, 4 letters, but yeah. And like to say hello to the boys and girls at ASIO this evening.
Yeah, that's them.
God knows they've been listening to my phone all day. So anyway, all right. Sorry, Vince, I sort of took half a question away from you. So away you go. I know you've got one lined up.
Not too much. I actually agree with what the guys are saying as far as Ripple is concerned and the SEC. That battle's been going on for well over 2 years now.
Yeah, right.
And whether it's a security or an asset or whichever. Everything points to the fact that it's settled. We're seeing a lot of stuff happening in Ripple where they're doing a lot of stuff between banks now. There's as using them as a major transfer between major banks and bits and pieces. But there is a bit of clarification that is needed, and maybe Jim, you can help me on this one. My understanding and the research that I've done, and from way back initially, Ripple controls XRP, as in it looks after the ledger, right? So it has total control of that ledger. Doesn't that make that a centralized coin, not a decentralized coin?
No, what happened, what XRP is going to do, you know, here, I want to just back up a little bit on what you're saying, Vince, because it's important people hear this. And this video that I'm going to send Carl, I mean, you're going to find it really amazing, because there's a lot of people out there that are really pushing XRP. And I'm not saying anything bad about XRP. XRP is going to be a fantastic investment. But know this, XRP you're not going to own. Okay, it's going to be bought back from you. Okay, XLM you'll be able to own, and not enough people are talking about Stellar. So XRP is going to be that bridge of doing transferring of funds across borders. Okay, but Emily goes into and I always said this, and I use this analogy. Okay, and because I'm always visual. XRP is going to be the plow that plows the field. Okay. XLM and XDC are going to be the ones that are going to plant the field and grow the field.
Yeah,
Right.
that's basically what I was getting at. Like, so I'm just concentrating on XRP at the moment. So, but that point about it being centralized is actually valid, because the whole ledger system is controlled by Ripple.
It's correct.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So, but with Stellar, it's decentralized. So, yeah.
It'll be bought back from you. They need it to run the system.
And I've heard that
we were never, Vince. We were never supposed to own that. I mean, you got to understand, we're living in a duality world right now. If the black hats were in control, we would have never had the opportunity to buy XRP.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So because the white hats are in control, they gave it back to the people. Okay, so the people are able to buy that coin. So that's another example that the white hats are in control. Okay, because if the black hats, go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, sorry. I've had XRP for more than 5 years.
Yep.
All right, so I've owned it for quite a long period of time. and I'm aware of the decentralized and centralized processes of it. I'm really more going to be asking questions to people in the chat tonight, Carl, so I will try not to put too much of my interjections in.
Right.
But really looking forward to looking at those videos and learning a bit more about that.
Yeah, I didn't pass it on to you, Vince. I've got one that Jim sent me after our last chat, and yeah, it's an eye-opener for me at any rate. I mean, for people like you guys, and there are many of you who are watching who are much, more knowledgeable on this than me. I really am as new as the driven snow here when it comes to this. So the learning curve that I've gone through in the last 3 weeks has been exponential for a variety of different reasons. But I've loved it. I've found it difficult. Now, I'm 57 years of age. I know that there are people out there much older than me that are dealing with their wallets every day. In fact, I was with a gentleman today who went into his wallet, exchanged some of his crypto, and paid for his steak with it, all standing right in front of me. Took it out of his wallet and then pulled out a card and then beeped it. So it can happen that easily, folks. That is how easily it really is meant to work. Just the same as it works with our current banking debit cards. So I'm amazed that sort of level and speed, particularly of transfer, given that the fiat banking system has only just recently taken in the last 2 years here in Australia has taken bank-to-bank transfers instantly using the OSCO system. That's something that the banks must have hated doing, because they've been taking our money off us and using it on the short-term money market for years, creating their wealth out of it, hypothecating the money, our money, and then keeping the benefits of it. So I see so many benefits going forward in what we're talking about here with a digital coin. I also feel great, not sympathy, I feel great alignment with those people who want to live a cash lifestyle. And they do not want to be encumbered with, the potential that government could do something with their money, stop them traveling one way or the other. So for the foreseeable future, am I right to say that there will be still notes and coins that people will be able to use for the foreseeable future? I don't think it's going to stay with us forever. And I think folks, probably...
Yeah. You're right, Carl. We will have what's going to be called a rainbow currency. At least that's the information that we have. There will be a transition period. So those that want to fully embrace the QFS, whether it be Stellar, XDC, one of the other blockchains, so XDC is on XinFin, but we're mainly talking Stellar. So if people want to embrace Stellar, which is going to be one of the backbones of the QFS, they can do so. But if they still want to use rainbow currency and slowly learn how the QFS works, that's fine, because there will be a transition period. Who knows how long it's going to be? Is it going to be 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? No one really knows that information. And I dare say it will have to do with how quickly people embrace the new system.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's been set in concrete, but government as we know it will not exist, because that's part of JASARA. When JASARA is announced, there's 120 days to hold new elections worldwide.
Yeah.
So and our government's going to change, and Jim will say more on that.
Yeah. So the thing with Jan saying is this. I don't believe there's going to be a set time. I think it's kind of like what we're going through right now. I think it's going to be a gradual thing as people learn from other people, like your experience today, Carl. When people start seeing other people do it. I mean, if you think about everything that we've done in our lives, there's something that comes out and it gets to be trendy. I mean, I'll give you an example. If you would have told me back in the 1980s that we'd all be using our phones like a TV, a computer, what we're doing right now. I mean, it just slowly, and when people say, well, what about the elderly? What about the elderly? And I'm like, well, okay, look at the elderly walk around with an iPhone or an Android now. I mean,
Yeah.
and I just see that happening with the new financial system too. I see it just slowly growing. And the biggest thing is you get the kids involved. I mean, this is the biggest thing. If we can get the kids involved, then the kids actually help the parents and the grandparents. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I've
how I
actually seen evidence of that exact same thing here this week. 2 18-year-old kids have got their grandparents into crypto.
Yep.
And they're the ones who set them up with a wallet, and this is how it all works. And I think for the most part, the grandparents were just saying, "Oh, that's nice and that's lovely," and "Oh, do you want us to put your Christmas money in that now?" That's the sort of view. But I have no doubt they're a very close family. I have no doubt that within a month or two, good old Nan and Pop will be out there beeping their crypto coin out through their card pretty easily.
Yeah, there's a great commercial out there, and I'll find it and I'll send it to you, Carl, but it's got to do with the Stellar Network. And it's actually someone who's able to send someone money that was in need from one country to another, and it happened within seconds. Yeah. And that's the new world that we're going into, and with very, very minimum fees. That's the biggest thing. You don't have all these, I don't know if we talked about it before, but every time right now you use your credit card, there's all these different companies that are touching, a fraction of a percent of the fees on there. And so by the time that transaction goes through, I mean, there's 3-4% coming out of every transaction. And if you look at that with the amount of people in this world, that's crazy. It's a crazy amount of money. And that's all going away with the new system.
Sorry, Carl. That's not exactly all going away. There's still going to be some fees associated with crypto transfers.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fraction of what it is now. It's a fraction what it is now.
It'll be absolutely minimal. And I think most of them on Stellar,
15 central banks.
Yeah. I think most of your transaction fees or your typical transaction fee on Stellar will be one stroop, which is after the decimal point, you've got 6 zeros and a 1. So it's 7 decimal points of an XLM. So one stroop is all it's going to be for transaction fees. And who knows, it may change in the future, but at the moment it is only minimal. It's definitely not going to be as costly to do any transactions as what it has been under the cabal.
Well, let's just say this. It's not going to be a percentage of the transaction. It's just going to be a transaction fee.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference here that we really need to identify. It's not going to be a percentage of the transaction. It's just going to be a single fee.
A flat fee.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, Americans, Australians use credit cards. Credit is a great and wonderful thing for the banks. It's not much good for people. How will credit change going forward? Because all debt will be forgiven. Let's say all of that happens. Will people need credit? Will there be a need for it? And if so, how? Let's say, for instance, the Great Reset happens. You don't get quite the abundance you were hoping for. You need to go and get another $50,000 to get a boat to live on or whatever. How would somebody go about raising that, or how would somebody go about funding a startup business, for instance, that might need a couple of $1 million that they don't want to throw in altogether? And ordinarily they'd go to a bank and say, lend me money, I'll pay you interest and you can make money off me for the rest of my life. That's not going to be a viable option going forward. How will this work going forward?
My thought is that there will be some finance under smart contracts, and not necessarily whether it's on Stellar or Zinfin or flare. It'll be, but there'll be smart contracts that offer finance, but then you will also potentially, a number of us that have invested in Stella now may look to do a humanitarian project. And, if someone's got a project that they'd like to do that's going to benefit their community, it may be that there's someone that is looking to fund a project and they will do that, and you'll just do it between yourselves rather than using a financier.
Simon Parkes has a model like that for connecting consciousness. I've looked at that model. It's an amazing model, and should that come to fruition, he and his group are going to create some absolutely amazing places around the world. So, and help fund others to do just the same thing. In fact, somebody's encouraged me to put in a submission for something that I'd like to build. So we might get around to that, but at the moment I'm fighting this fight. But
So
that's,
Carl,
that's a great way forward.
Carl, let me throw this at you. People have to put their head wrap their head around this. The amount of abundance that's coming back to us is going to blow you away. And we've been living in such an enslaved environment. Think about what we're saying. Credit is debt.
Yeah.
We're not going to have debt anymore. There's going to be so much abundance. I'll give you an example. Okay. I've been involved with the QFS for over 2 years now with my wallet. And I have a dear friend of mine. His name's Andy Kidrowski, and he's the one who got me involved with it because I knew so much what was going on with the reset, but I didn't understand the QFS over 2 years ago. And that's when I learned about it, because I was, precious metals and the foreign currencies and stuff like that, but I didn't get into the digital side of it. So the amount that we've invested into this, it's we the people are going to be able to help each other now. And we'll be able to help people and loan them money without interest, because interest is taxation.
Yeah, usury.
And we're going to look at money different. Money is going to be used as a tool, not as the almighty, like we've all been doing. So.
Interesting question from Reagan. What are your thoughts on the currency revaluations around the world? The ones that people are obviously following closely are the Iraqi dinar, the Vietnamese dong, and the Zimbabwean zim. If you're lucky enough to hold a $1 trillion zim note, what are the odds of you having that fulfilled in the reset?
I know that that's going to happen. When it's going to happen is a guess. I know that March 23rd is coming up, where there's all the ISOs go into place. So it's my estimation. I want to capitalize estimation after talking to a number of people. I think it could happen this month. Could is the key word in my sentence there. I don't have any facts, and I don't think anyone has any facts, and there's a reason for that. And it may even roll out, you guys, it may even roll out privately where it's not really announced. It's just people are going to be contacted who have the currency, and they'll come in and they'll sign an NDA and they'll get their foreign currency. So that's my opinion on it.
Yeah. I firmly believe that people who are either disbelieving of the Nasara Jazara story or the entire quantum financial system, you can't blame people for being skeptical. And we've been led like the donkey with the carrot in front of its nose up so many garden paths, only to find that they lead to a dead end. So people are, I know from just conversations that I've had both with people in the chats here and people I've met personally, that right now many people are not relying on any of this to actually happen. They are working on a plan B, if you like. They're hoping with all and praying that this all comes through, but they are still working towards a plan B where they've got to look after themselves. And I think that's important. We should never rely. This is like, waiting for the white hats to come and save us. We have to get off our own asses and do a bit of our own saving and learning about digital currency, about how the new quantum financial system will work, even if it's not something we're familiar with. And I'll be honest, I struggled comprehending our current banking system. I've got no hope when it comes to understanding the intricacies of something this big, international exchanges and all that kind of thing. But what I've learned in the last 3 weeks alone is that all that's going to go. We are going to be our own bank.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if you can convince me of that in 3 weeks, and if I can be convinced of that in 3 weeks, then, folks who are still feeling a little skeptical about it, go and do the research. Go and have a look at the QSI lessons. Nobody is forcing anybody to do anything here. Nobody's holding a gun to your head. Nobody's telling you to go and buy anything. We are asking you to go and get a little bit more educated. I am staggered at how little I know about this, and still I'm only 3 weeks in. But I'm also staggered at the huge volume of information that I've been able to draw in 3 weeks, and it hasn't been that hard. Yes, conversations like this have helped immensely, because when you have no idea and you're a bit protective of what little money you have, throwing it online. I mean, I don't like using a card online for anything. I certainly am no kind of a gambler. I would never do anything like this. And for a lot of people, I think the whole early days of Bitcoin and digital currency was a bit like gambling. We have to get beyond that, where this isn't a gamble anymore, is it? Well, if you're in the right part of the market with what we're talking about. What are the pitfalls there? Can you get caught? How do we tell the difference between what's good and what's bad?
Well, here's my opinion. My opinion is for those, and we tried touching on it the last call, and that's the ascension process, looking within yourself, trusting yourself, using your own discernment. If you're not trusting us, then the alternative is buy precious metals.
Yeah.
Because right now the precious metals are so suppressed right now, and it's being done for a reason. It's for people to be able to go out and buy them at a real cheap price. Because once we go through this flip, you're going to see, you're going to see silver, you're going to see copper, you're going to see that go crazy. So if you're not totally into this, just what we were saying before, it may be everyone's at a different level. There's different levels of where everyone's at. If you're not there, then I strongly suggest buy some precious metals, but you'll slowly see how the precious metals have everything to do with what we're talking about with the digital assets.
Some people, you touched on it before, Jim, when you mentioned Ascension and the Ascension chat we had last time. A lot of people, got a little tizzy about that. People, you've got to understand, when we say this is a spiritual war, we mean it. And Ascension is part of that war. Okay, so no need to get upset with the words. Go and understand them, learn what it really means, because if you're getting upset about words like Ascension or being able to raise your vibration, to look for the next level, the next dimension of thinking, then if that sort of thing is making you laugh or making you skeptical or you think that we're idiots for even considering that, then I'm afraid you're at a level yet that's not quite as awake as you would like to think you are. If you were awake a little more, you would understand that you never knock back an opportunity to gain knowledge, because it is only through knowledge that you can discern truth. So don't shoot the messengers. Do your own research. Look into things. It's great that we have Jane and Jim, the expertise and the pedigree of these two people. I'm blown away that they would ordain to spend time with me on a Saturday night, and thank you very much both for doing so. We have an opportunity here to learn. That is all. Not an opportunity for you to spend money, not an opportunity for you to be robbed or ripped off or, somehow cajoled. We have an opportunity to learn. That is all. Gain knowledge. From knowledge, you can discern truth.
You
Can
know,
I jump in, please?
Sorry, mate.
Can I jump in, please?
Yeah.
Okay, so for those who are not familiar with crypto, it is still an unregulated market. There are still plenty of scams and bits and pieces out there. There are also very viable and good working options out there as well. It's a matter of discernment and looking and investigating. There have been, sorry, that's my son just coming home. Been plenty of people who have been caught because of crypto cycles, because like it cycles every 4 years. It makes a peak and then it falls off by 85 or 95% and then comes back up. It's a matter of learning all of that information. Now, one of the gentlemen here has a question, which was if they wanted to get into some crypto, and my advice if you're doing crypto is you don't put all your savings in it, right? You just, if you've got some money that you can spare, you can use it for that because it gives you extra eggs in different baskets, right? But you don't put your ride on it. Don't make it your only source of income, all right? But this question was, if he wants to get into crypto, what would you guys suggest?
For anyone that wants to get into crypto, I'd highly recommend that if you're not already on Telegram, that you jump on Telegram and go to the QSI Welcome, which is the beginner's training. Do all that first. You'll learn to find all the QFS proofs. Then you will go through how to identify scammers and setting up your wallet, just the basic pitfalls that a new person may learn if they don't know what may do. So if you don't know what you're doing, I'd highly recommend that you go through it because it will help teach you about the pitfalls and the things that those of us that button mashed learned. So learn from our mistakes because we've put them all in there for you to see warts and all, so that you don't make them, to protect you. And then there's also the intermediate once you've done the beginners, which actually teaches you how to put on trade orders, how to join out the QSI group funds, which are closing out ICOs, so initial coin offerings for QFS assets and projects. So that's there as well. But I'd highly recommend doing the beginner's training. And then on QSI, we have what we can call our verified assets list. So Emily or Whiplash have spoken with the developers. They have a relationship or contact with the developers so that they know about the projects. They are actually verified projects. I wouldn't go outside the list, the verified assets list. It is available on the Quantum Stellar Initiative global announcement channel, so the main QSI channel, and all you have to do is keyword search. Use that little magnifying glass and keyword search tracker spreadsheet, and it will come up. And it's there for everyone.
So the verified assets list there, that's assets that have been, like, for instance, the JLL asset that's currently being advertised.
Correct.
Those particular assets there.
Closed on that one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And how does a person, other than on that list that's been specified there, I know that Stellar has a process that they go through as part of their conditions as determining assets, etc. But how can a person verify that asset is actually really an asset independently of that list?
You need to find the white paper, read the white paper, see if you can contact the developers, see if you can get a contact from them and a response. Check the validity on stellar.expert, which is looking at the ledger. So once you've got the asset and you've seen the asset advertised somewhere, go and jump on stellar.expert, put the issuer account code in, which starts with G, pull the asset up, see how many asset holders are on it, how many transactions. You can even trace the lineage back to see if the parent account is a recognizable account for another account or another asset that you know of, or see what other assets have been minted by that account. and whether there are other known assets in the listing that have been minted on the account.
Okay, and that's lovely and complicated. Haven't read a lot of white papers over my time over the last, what are we in, 17, so 6 years of being in crypto and seeing a lot of these mints happen and a lot of these businesses go belly up because they've been more or less scams. It still makes it very difficult for a novice to try and figure out what's actually going on. Anybody can mint an asset for anything they want to put it on a ledger, but whether there's anything physically backing it, that's the challenge. That's the question I think a lot of people are asking.
Well, if it's ISO compliant, then it's a asset you want to buy. It's that simple. If it's ISO compliant,
Why?
Because it's meeting the compliance of the QFS. It's been verified. I mean,
Okay.
it's no different than if you bought. I mean, why did you buy Bitcoin?
Right. Well, initially that was an unregulated market, but now it's ISO compliant as well. So the ISO being the regulatory, well, it's not a regulation because it's not law. It's a standards of guidance. Would that be correct?
Hey Vince, all I'm going to say is this: if you go through the education system, all the proofs are in the classes. So
Okay,
we can sit and debate this. All I'm going to tell you, let me finish, please. All I'm going to tell you is if you go through the QFS beginners course and you go to the intermediate course, all the proofs are in the classes. So you can answer your own questions by going through the classes.
I'm happy. Yep. The next, are you only recommending Stellar, or are there any other asset or coins that you would recommend for somebody who's looking to invest?
Well, here's my take on it. Stellar is the people's network. I mean, it is the people's financial system. And I want to read something here. And I got this pulled up here. Stellar is the keystone of QFS, the type of stellar assets. The QFS quantum computer governance. So not only is the quantum system going to run our financial system, but it's also going to run our elections. So this is really important that people understand this. This is more than just our financial system. It's also going to be running our elections. You're not going to be able to vote more than once. If you're dead, you're dead. You know, so everything's going to be run through the quantum system. And people that don't know this, we're going through a duality world right now. The quantum system was running through our last elections. They have everything. They're just collecting all the bad guys right now. So the other thing is CBDCs that destroy the cabal banking matrix, the stable coins, the Treasury Department, the Treasury Department sovereign notes backed by physical metals and commodities per Bretton Woods 3. And commodities is important because not all these coins are going to be run by precious metals. They're also going to be run by grain, diamonds, oil, whatever your country has of a commodity. That's what those tokens can be backed by. They're going to be backed by either a precious metal or a commodity. The other thing is government bonds. All commodities in every country, smart contracts, infrastructure payments, rail, aka bridging assets from one to the other. Stock market's going to come into Stellar. So the whole entire stock market, when it crashes, it's going into Stellar. Okay. The other thing is that the wrap assets from the other blockchains, and this is where we were talking about before, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, they're going to be wrapped by Stellar. Okay. Then we're going to have the liquidity tokens, the NFTs, and these are not going to just be for arts and music and stuff like that. It's also going to be your government ID, your medical records, real estate, business contracts, etc. And you know, it's interesting. And I did not know this till Emily put this out. But on these smart contracts, you know, when we do a contract now, we write a contract. Like say, you know, Carl and Vince and the four of us are going into business together. We put a contract together, and then we come into a snag, so we got to put an addendum onto it. we keep putting addendums on the contracts. Well, these smart contracts will do that, automatically. We just put it in and it automatically puts it into the smart contract. So there's not a lot of paperwork. It's all done through the quantum system. The other thing is the loyalty and the rewards tokens. And the biggest thing of all with Stellar is what we talked about all along, and that's a self-banking. We're not going to have to rely on the banks. We're going to be able to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Can you give some more information on the loyalty and reward tokens, please, for the listeners?
Right now, I don't have that information, Vince, so we can provide that as it goes along. The one thing that we got to understand here is this. We are just breaking the egg of this new system. Okay? The chick hasn't come totally out of the egg yet. So we're at the very beginning right now. So everyone has to have a little patience as we're going through these beginning stages of this new system.
And that's the thing. I think people are basing, and rightly so, you can only make a decision on what knowledge you have. We know how to say quantum computing, but very few people actually understand what that is going to bring to us. Why is a quantum computer going to be any different to the computer you're watching this on now, or your phone? Why is the Q phone going to be any better or any worse than the Apple or the Samsung? We don't have a quantifiable measure of what and how powerful quantum computing is going to be, really, do we? Is this why we're struggling going forward?
Let me just share that. Let me just share this with you, Carl. So the quantum computing, it's 158 million times faster and more efficient than the computer systems we're running now. 158 million times faster. It self-corrects errors, like we were talking about on smart contracts. It's the quantum voting system, and it's run by IBM.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, it's going to be able to do trillions of transactions per second. It's unheard of. It's way bigger and faster than we ever could dream of.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it's going to reach into every facet of our lives, not just the computer.
Yeah, but understand this. You're not going to see a quantum processor in your phone.
No.
Right? Because it literally, we wouldn't have the power to run it. We wouldn't have the cooling to cool it.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. It can only be a big system. So just to be aware of that. And there's a whole heap of other things about quantum, but I won't get into that. It's one of my little pet subjects. I'll leave that alone. Okay, so effectively, guys, so when we're looking at through all the stuff and the information in the Stellar system, we see there that there's quite a few of those assets that we've been talking about that are on the ledger for people to buy. And it looks like there's an extremely profitable reward system coming back from that. Now, probably because I haven't gone through all the study yet, but that almost looks weird. Like it sort of sets off alarm bells. Is there a reason why that is being advertised that way?
I'm not really understanding the question, Vince.
No, me either.
Yeah. Are you talking
like for instance, on, was it JLL or LJ, whichever one, I can't remember which way it was. There's a thing like a cashback reward, and there's much, and then there's this much for another reward, and then there's a lucky pot draw where someone's going to win. It looks really like it's good advertising and everything, but it also seems to set off alarm bells like it's scammy. Is there a reason why it's done that way?
Well, it's scammy because we've been living in a fearful world. Again, it goes back to your discernment and your ascension process. If you go into it and you read about the program, you can see that some of these tokens have rewards for buying into them. It's, it's just like any investment. You buy into something and it grows. It continually grows. And there's certain tokens that are in the Stellar Network, KT House, Lumen Swap, that you have. The more you invest, whatever reinvest, you get kickbacks for what your investment. It's, that's just how it works. They're investment tokens.
There's a number of them. But with the cashbacks that Vince is talking about, those cashbacks and those lucky draws are primarily on when you've got an open ICO, so an open initial coin offering. So, and you need to spend a minimum amount, which is why QSI has set up the group funds that a lot of us that are a lot more advanced participate in order to be able to take advantage of those rewards. So for as little as 10 XLM, people can invest in the group fund, but they've got to make sure that they follow the steps and put the correct memo in, and they put their funds in the correct account. So that's why we recommend that before people even go into that, they go through the training process so that they know exactly what they're doing. And then the auditors go through the account and your funds are airdropped back to you, like the tokens that are purchased plus the bonus level. So most of the group funds have hit either the second top tier or the top tier and sent back to individuals the maximum return. Whereas people, may have only had a spare 10 XLM. They couldn't buy in at 2,000 XLM or 3,000 XLM, what the bottom tier was. So by pooling our resources, we're managing as a group to qualify for the tiers of cashback. So whether it be this top tier, the second top tier, whether it be 3,000%, 5,000% cashback in tokens. So it's not cash, it's tokens that we've invested in. So like Vince said, JLL, the ICO on that one has now closed. And for those that participated in the group fund, once the tokens come back from the developer into the group fund, so the cashback tokens come back, the auditors will get to work. And within 5 days of it being back in the QSI wallet, the auditors will have gone through and worked out who met the guidelines, and then the tokens will be distributed back to the participants. So in order for all of us to benefit.
I think even I understand that.
Yeah, and going back to what you, Vince, and Carl were saying about, investing into this, you could get your wallet and start with $50. You could start with $25. You could start with $100. And I tell everyone, the people that are like on the fence and they get into it and they go, well, I got $100. I spent $100 easily going out with the girls or going out with the guys. They put $100 in there. I'll give you an example. So I tell everyone, this is my preference, my opinion. Get the maximum of sovereign gold bonds. For $45, you can buy 922 billion sovereign gold bonds, you guys. And then you can put the rest in the XLM and XRP, just on $100 investment. Now, let's just say sovereign gold bonds goes to 1 penny and you own 922 billion of them. That's $92 million.
And talking about sovereign gold bonds, this week Emily's put out some D-class on sovereign gold bonds, but she's been putting it out for months. But this week we've got the proof that it is a liquidity token, and it's how a lot of the gold will be put back into Stellar. So anyone holding sovereign gold bonds is going on swisscustody.org will be doing quite nicely for themselves, because when you go and look at that Age of Prosperity talk that Nick did the other day, and then there's also some more with that on Telegram. You need to find this one from Kirsten, and it's on the Ledger team. They have done a D-class on Swiss custody that once you've watched the Age of Prosperity one, and you then go and watch Kirsten's talk on the Rothschild banking, so Swiss custody and Banque Depositaire Suisse, you'll see how it's all going to mesh together, and some of the other things that they've been telling us when you got the Decoder website that they've been telling us in plain sight.
Jim, you mentioned, I think, in the first show that at the time, I think XLM was trading at 9 cents or 0.9 of a cent, or whichever point, whatever it is. and you were encouraging people at the time to maybe consider looking at that. I've considered looking at it. I've considered it a great deal. I've had all these great stock tips. I could have got into Bitcoin when it first got in, and I didn't. I still haven't invested in XLM, and today I found out the price for XLM is 13 cents. So in 3 weeks, the price has gone up 4 cents. That's, to me, indicative of a good thing. And better money, you get better money there than you do investing in a bank and hoping they're going to pay you interest one day.
I'd probably correct you there, Carl, because Jim would have been talking USD. I talk USD when I talk prices for XLM. Okay. And today, USD, it is 8.5 cents.
Oh, right. Okay. Beg your pardon, righto. I might have got my USD and my AUDs mixed up.
Yeah, so that's because there's been a drop in the market, as in it happened over the last 24 hours or so. Quite a significant drop.
Significant drop. And for those of us that, were buying XLM over 30 cents, we've been going, oh, better go buy some more.
Yeah.
And the same for XRP. I mean, this is a great opportunity to buy XRP. It's a really good opportunity to buy XDC. And XDC does not get talked about enough.
No, not.
And same with Lumen Swap, same with Stronghold, and XXA.
I see Monero coming up in the chat. Is that another one? A lot of people are saying Monero's good.
Monero is a privacy coin. It's nothing to do specifically with Stellar or any of the stuff we're talking about here, or the cross bridging that goes between it. Monero has been out for years. It was one of the original coins that first started to come on the market, and its big claim to fame is its privacy. In other words, the inability to track what's happening with its transactions and who owns them.
But it may well disappear if it doesn't have an ISO number come 24th of March.
I want to share this with you guys and your listeners. We've had a lot of people in the same boat, here in the States, and they go like, well, for $100, I'll try it for $100. And all of a sudden, a month later, they got $1,000 into it because they just learn more about it. And once they learn more about it, and they go, God, this is fun, and I'm learning this. What about this coin, Cranker? What about my nickname's Cranker? They go, what about this coin, Cranker? And I go, yeah, I have that coin. So next thing you know, they're buying that. So now, it's gaining momentum because people are learning about it. It's just get your toes wet a little bit and take it at the pace that you're at. You don't have to go all in. Yeah. And it's like it's like you and Vince are saying, if you just get involved with it and you start learning about it, then you really start gaining momentum. And we did a call. Emily and I did a call about a month and a half ago with 2 ladies, and their Angel Warriors is the name of their show. And a week and a half before we did the show, they knew nothing about the digital assets and the tokens. And now Christine, who's one of the hosts on the show, she's noticed by everyone in QSI because she's gone through the whole education process. Now she's our biggest advocate. She goes, oh my God, I can't believe it. And she goes, my husband is like Archie Bunker. He's so tight with his money. He squeaks and this and that. And now he's giving me more money to put into the system because he's starting to understand it because she's teaching him.
Yeah,
so
wow.
You got to understand where we're at with this system right now. We are at the groundbreaking beginning of this. And once people start learning about it, they're going to become more comfortable about it.
Yeah, I agree.
The more you learn, the easier it will become for you. And the more you learn to trust your own instincts and listen to your own instincts and be guided by those, which is part of the ascension process, the more you trust yourself, the easier you will find it to learn.
Yes. And I want to make something really clear here. The team that Emily put together with QSI, they're remarkable, you guys. And once you go through the training courses, and it's free. It's free. It's a humanitarian project. They've done a remarkable job, and you will be so surprised going through it, and you'll go, holy mackerel, there's a lot of work that went through this. And when you see all the proofs and you see all the QFS maps on how everything works, how everything's bridged with one coin to another, it really will bring you to a new level of understanding the new system.
Definitely. You know, and like even myself, I go back into the QFS proofs channel all the time and make notes, and I learn stuff all the time. You know, even with what I've learned over the last 2 years, I still go back in there to refresh myself, to see what's new that's been added. It's just huge, and it's only been available to everyone since the beginning of February. So, and the number of people that are going through, or even people that have been in QSI for a long time, that have been going back, and I've seen one of them's comments coming across the bottom of the screen, and he'll know who I'm talking about. He's actually on the Aussie admin moderator team for QSI, so he'll know. But they've gone back in and done the training, and geez, I've learned stuff that I didn't know that I didn't know. I'm glad I did it. And then there's been others that we've actually muted in the global chat because they've been asking incessantly beginner questions that are answered in the training. We've sent them to do the training, and they've gone, yay, I'm glad you made me do that, because, you know, I just kept asking you all the questions were answered in there when I could have gone and learnt it for myself, rather than just coming in here asking basic questions. I don't know how you put up with me and how you kept being patient with me. So, you know, the training is there to help everyone learn at their own pace. It's not a race. Just take your time. You know, you go at your pace with the available time that you've got to do it. And as Jim was saying before, for anyone that, you know, that says, oh, I haven't got a lot to learn. One of the kids that is mates with my son, so I call them the kids. So one of the kids, he's only put $50 in his wallet, but, you know, he's got his SGB, he's got his XRP, and he's got his XLM, but he's also got a few other things because, you know, he's got a liquidity pool that earns him aqua. So that pool earning him aqua every hour of every day, he comes in here and he says, well, okay, what have we got that's new this week? Or when he comes in and he swaps that into whether it's more sovereign gold bonds or there's another new asset that he wants to add, then he uses his aqua to increase his token count. He doesn't necessarily purchase a new asset, but he might add it on to something that he's already got. So, you know, there's lots of things that you can do. And like Vince was asking about loyalty tokens and earning tokens, they're there. It's just a matter of, and they're being released all the time. Like some of the early ones don't have the returns of the later ones, but you know, there's new ones coming out all the time. And the latest, all the rage is Q Lumen. So because it's paying out, and there's lots of really good XLM returns being paid. And that's coming from Elon Stellar. So yes.
Can I ask a really basic newbie question? Jim, you'll probably be the one to answer this, I guess. America put out, or Trump put out, somebody put out a whole heap of Trump coins, silver and gold coins. They've been called tokens, they've been called coins, they've been called gifts or souvenirs or whatever. People in Australia, I don't think initially were able to buy them, but that changed, and I've actually had one given to me. I mean, I love it just for the fact that it's a Trump coin, and I don't care what it's worth. I will never get rid of it. It's a piece of history as far as I'm concerned. But what is the value to those sorts of coins? Are they just the silver and gold value, or are they attached in some way to what we're talking about here?
Well, if they're, first of all, we got to make sure that they're actually a precious metal and not just steal what they're, there's a lot of imitation coins. There's a lot of imitation coins out there that are just souvenirs. I personally, I personally own an actual silver Trump coin. I have, a box of them. I think they'll be worth a value to a collector, but as far as the actual pure value, it's just going to be what the value is of an ounce of silver. Yeah. And I want to touch base on the precious metals. People, you got to understand, silver is going to be worth a hell of a lot more than what you think. There's less silver in the world than there is gold. And when you find out why they suppress silver, you're going to wish that you bought silver. And right now, it is at the lowest that you could buy. And XLM, we're talking about tokens now. XLM is backed by the precious metal silver. XRP is backed by the precious metal of gold. And XDC is backed by the precious metal of copper. So in right now, XDC, you can buy XDC. I last time I checked, it was like 3.5 cents a token. Yeah, well, I mean, so just think. Pardon me?
I'll look up XDC because I hold some.
Yeah. So I mean, it's if you just look at what we're talking about now. I mean, if you threw $50 a week or a month or whatever into your wallet, and this thing starts growing like we're talking about, it's going to give you and your family that security, financial freedom for the rest of your lives. And then you're going to be able to help other people in your community because money, this is the biggest part I really want to stress. When we're talking about sovereign gold bonds, if it goes to 1 penny, it's $92 million. Carl, I don't need $92 million.
Me either. No.
But you want to know something? You know how freaking great it would be to be able to help people in our community, to create jobs for those people and give them good jobs that are not minimum wage. Yeah. To create not businesses in the corporate world, but build a business that's a co-op where you actually make the people part of the business.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the world that we're talking about. It's a beautiful thing. How great would it be that everyone has no worries over their bills. They got no worries about food. They got no worries about a roof over their head. And we can all come together as one.
And you see, I have no trouble accepting what you're saying, Jim. None at all. But there are so many in the community who say, my God, what sort of bullshit are you speaking? People, I'm never going to be able to own a house and somebody will always be richer than me, or the man's always going to be having his thumb on my forehead pushing me down. This is the low-level thinking, the low vibrational thinking that you've got to lift yourselves up out of, folks. And lift yourselves up out of it long enough just to give what's above a bit of a look. I guarantee you, once you recognize what's above, you'll raise yourself to that. And once again, it's the ascension argument, or not argument, but the ascension topic that we keep getting back to. And it is on so many levels. You can call it spiritual. You can call it biological. It is happening on every level of our being. If you are not recognizing it yet, and if some of this is pushing back against you, the only way you're going to raise yourself up is by exposing yourself to knowledge. And if you expose yourself to knowledge here tonight that you don't agree with, then just make sure that you're not disagreeing with it for the wrong reason. Make sure you really understand what's been said and what your argument against it really is. Nobody here is pushing you into doing anything. All we're trying to do is educate. With knowledge, you can make an informed decision. And that's all this is about. So,
go ahead, Jane. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is for those people that are uncertain, go and watch The Age of Prosperity on QSI 347 here on Rumble, because that will really open your eyes. Go, Jim.
Yeah, I'm also going to make another huge announcement here, because I think it's apparent based on some of the questions. So Greg and Jaron and Emily on Rise TV, and I'll share the link with you, Carl, to share with everyone.
Thanks, Jim.
And it's all about, this whole world we've been living in, you guys. We've been suppressed in every aspect of our lives. And so they controlled us by fear. Okay? When we talk about raising your vibration up, there's a meaning behind it. What it is that what you put out in the universe is what you're going to get back. If you think negative, you're going to get negative. If you get positive and you create, we don't understand how creative we are. We have no idea the ability. God created us in his image. And what has the cabal done this whole entire time? They've done everything to decimate our power, our creativity, our ability to create. So we're always thinking negative. Well, that's never going to happen to me. Well, that's, the weather sucks. This and that. Every time we do these words, we throw these words out there, our thought process goes with it. So by raising our vibration means, boy, I should really take a look at this. Let me go through this. Let me check out the quantum financial system. Let's look at humanitarian projects. I mean, many things that you create is in your thought process. So if you're going to think negative, you're going to get negative.
Yeah.
If you're going to think positive, you're going to get positive. And it's really important that we learn this, because this is how they've enslaved us for so many years. If you think you can't get it, you're never going to. It's like, I'll give you an example. If you're the kid in high school and you go, God, I really like her. I should ask her out for a date. You're never going to know until you do it.
Yeah.
You can sit, I'm just going to be real frank with people. You can sit and mind fuck yourself the whole time. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to do it and see what happens.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, you need to let go of your fear and become fearless.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. On every level, folks.
Everyone on this panel and everyone listening, you are more powerful than you think. Believe in yourself. Trust yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, because once you get that self-belief, you're unstoppable.
Yeah. And everybody does need to learn to think in the positive, not the negative. I don't disagree with any of that comment. Question for you, though. Obviously, we have a central bank digital currencies being created that they want to use as a programmable form of money, which is what Stellar is sort of against in this whole situation. So this raises the question of, we have two competing systems. Now, Nisara Jasara is supposed to be responsible for ending all of that. Do you believe that Nisara Jasara is going to happen? And will it take over completely, that whole thing? Or are we going to see a battle for another couple of years yet?
No, I've got something for you on that, Vince. Emily released a post at 5:04 p.m. this afternoon, and this is what it says. Yes, exactly what we have been saying, and that was in capitals. The Fed does not have the authority to mint a CBDC like the way the original Black Hat VoF had intended. So just further confirmation that existing CBDCs on Stellar have nothing to do with the Black Hat agenda. Thanks, Charlie, for the link. And there is a link that goes with this. US legislators introduced a bill that would prohibit creation of an American CBDC. The bill, titled the CBDC Anti-Surveillance State Act, details that except as specifically authorized under this act, a Federal Reserve Bank may not offer products or services directly to an individual or maintain an account on behalf of an individual or issue a central bank digital currency directly to an individual. It goes on to further detail specifically that the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve System and the Federal Open Market Committee may not use any central bank digital currency to implement monetary policy. Representative Emma explained in his tweet announcing the bill that any digital version of the dollar must uphold our digital American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. Anything less opens the door to the development of a dangerous surveillance tool. And there is also a message from Charlie Ward. So I'm going to turn my volume up and I'm going to play that as well.
Before you start that, okay,
Yep.
That's beautiful for America, but says nothing for Australia.
It's for the whole world, Vince. It's for the whole world.
American laws don't have to be.
No, it's for the whole world.
We are under the same law.
It's for the whole world, Vince. I can tell you right now.
The same thing.
The QFS has been already running since October 2022.
Yeah, don't disagree with that. But the legislation that's relative that you've just specified is American, not Australian.
It's for all.
It's for the whole world.
And
just
once
Sarah,
we get back to
just Sarah, no, let me finish. Let me finish. Just Sarah is global.
Right.
Nassara
Which
is
means
national.
it has to come into effect.
It's already running. It's already running in your bank right now.
Background. They just haven't publicly announced it.
It's already running.
There is something else that people have failed to take into consideration. It has to do with an executive order that Donald Trump signed in 2018. And if you don't know about that particular executive order, which is 13848, I think, that is essentially it takes all the assets and ownership of any individual or any country that is found to be involved in rigging an American election.
That's correct.
Alexander Downer, anybody? Alexander Downer.
And here's
we are going to fight Canada to be the 51st state of America. That'll be the argument. It won't be 51, 52, or 53. We are going to be one of those. We are already on.
I'll reserve my judgment on that one.
And Carl, USMCA section 27.5 specifically now includes civil society, non-profits, philanthropics, advocacy groups, societal ecosystem influencers, schools, churches and families. And that is against corruption, and it is not just for America. It is worldwide. It is all corruption. So,
in Executive Order 14073 is the National Quantum Initiative. And it's run by the Secretary of Energy, excuse me. So
the ones who just admitted that COVID was a lab leak.
Yeah.
Say that again.
That's the same agency that's just admitted COVID is a lab leak.
Yeah. Well, COVID is a bioweapon.
It's
forced upon the people. But the whole Nassara and Jassara has already happened, and we're already seeing it happening. We got banks closing in all these different countries. You've got many banks in other countries that are already transforming into, they don't have any bank tellers. All they have is just little machines and little offices that you can go in, and we're going to be able to go in and, like we were talking about earlier, and grab cash from. So it's already happening. It's irrefutable. So enough said about that.
All right, guys, we might leave it for tonight. We've been going an hour and a half. I'd like to thank you both again for taking time out of your Saturday night and very early on your Saturday morning, I guess, Jim, for taking the time. I found tonight to be really useful, really, really educational for me. So can't thank you enough. I'm looking forward to doing it all again and learning more this week. Vince is very good during the week. He gives me a bit of a G up. We have a few good conversations, and he translates a lot for me, which is great. So what I miss in the live show, I get brought up with during the week. So thank you all for coming in and helping give us a little more knowledge. That's all I can ask for on this show. We like to share knowledge. So thanks very much for coming in.
I sent you those emails, Carl, during the show. And then I'll send you those links for Rise TV too. I think your audience would really enjoy Rise TV also.
Absolutely. Well, I'll make sure I'll put all that up in a link tomorrow morning for everybody to go and check out. Absolutely.
And there's those ones that I sent you through the week too, Carl.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've got so many videos this week to watch. I don't know that I'm going to get much else done. But then again, I guess we're all in that boat, aren't we?
Yeah.
So,
well, some of the ones that I sent you during the week are the ones that we mentioned tonight as well. So,
yeah. Awesome stuff. All right. Thanks, guys.
So
appreciate
remember that to everybody who's listening, right, whether you take which side or other side that you want to take, this is all just a learning experience. You get to do your own research and try and help. It's a little bit hard sometimes. I'm looking for research. Even me, I'm struggling to find certain bits and pieces of information. But this is not saying we support one side or the other. This is here to give you the opportunity to investigate something, to learn more, to see whether that's something you want to follow or not follow. This is not all about following a WEF format or a totally opposite WEF format. It's all about just being aware and looking at things that are happening currently at the stage. And I used to say one thing in my class, right? The person who asks the dumb question is the one who's going to learn.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right. So ask the dumb questions. Get in there.
Can I just address something that's gone on in the chat? There is some moron in there called Steve Gangster who just, really creative name, you moron, who was accusing me of all sorts of things, being a paid shill along with Charlie Ward. Can I just point out I get nothing from anybody to do this particular thing. Can you confirm that, Jane? You're not paying me to put you on air here.
I'm not paying you a cent, and we don't.
Hasn't even given me a lobster.
This is part of our humanitarian project to help rebuild society.
So if you think
we're all caring, compassionate people. We are giving up our time free of charge.
Yeah.
So because we're getting rewards.
The only thing I'm paying is attention.
Yeah.
Well said.
Ain't that the truth? Ain't that? I think that's the best way to end it. Thanks, Jim. Bloody great closer. Cheers, mate. Look forward to talking to you again, maybe next week, very soon, I hope. And Jane, same to you. Thank you very much for taking time again tonight. Really appreciate it. Vince, you too. You're a good man. I'll get you go off and get that magnificent meal your son, there's no doubt, cooked for you now that he's got home.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It'll be fish and chips again, won't it? Oh no, not after
that. No, I've got health right. I've got all this health thing I've got to do. So,
just want to point out, you look amazing. You are fading away before our very eyes. Go back 3 weeks, people, and have a look at the video that we did 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then compare Vince today. You're looking great, mate. You are looking great.
Get a little bit of a shock to the system, and it makes you wake up and look at some other avenues, and surprising what you'll find out there.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Carl.
Thank you, buddy. Talk to you again during the week.
Yeah, we'll discuss the option if people would like. Maybe they might want to give you email saying, hey, we would like to know the basics of cryptos and how they work. Yeah. Maybe we could do something along that line. That's not specifically relating to what we've been discussing here.
Yeah, cool. Absolutely. So if you're interested, Carl at VoFHQ.com or anything at VoFHQ.com will get Vince.
Yep. And don't forget to support Carl, because he's definitely not getting paid by anybody else. It's us that have to do it. We have to support him. So
thank you.
Get in there. Do the donation. Do a membership, because you won't advertise it, Carl, so I will. All right. I'll catch you all later, guys. Thanks for having me.
See you, buddy. Great. Thanks, folks. Have a great Saturday night. Might have a couple of interesting things for you tomorrow. If not, then it'll be Monday. And the log of claims, that's on the way. You're going to love it. Stay off the roads. There's too many dickheads out there to be bothered with.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!